What we're going to do in this video is, as best as I can editing wise, because I don't have the SOULO with me, it's it's hundreds of miles away because it's not mine, but through the magic of editing somehow I will do something. So first of all, headroom. If you remember in the SOULO we had, you know, ample headroom. There is more room in here than the Akto. I'm sure this is more spacious than the Akto. This is headroom, and clearly, you know, I am limited with my headroom here. From my memory that there is more room in here than the Akto. It's enough, you know. I mean, the thing is though, I can sit here and, you know, and obviously as long as you lower your head and you're looking down somewhat, then, you know, there is enough, there's enough headroom, but obviously your head is constantly brushing this. So if you've got a bit of an itch, then you can certainly itch it with the Hilleberg Akto head itching device here. Now, if I lie down here, head, so that's my, I'm lying down, that's my head here. I can sit up there. You know, my head is here and my feet are not quite touching the back there. I've got a good foot behind you there. So that's my, I'm lying down, that's my head here. I can sit up there. Or length, I would say, is quite similar. The biggest difference, of course, is that the angle of the slope here is much shallower, as it were. So when you're, you know, in camp and you're, you know, maybe sitting up to eat or watch television, or, you know, your tablet or whatever, you know, once again your head here is brushing the inner, which in the SOULO it doesn't do that. You know, you do have more interior headspace. The floor area is probably similar. When I had my feet in the SOULO, is that they were, you know, fairly close, you know, to me. I seem to recollect they were, this is the edge here. I seem to recollect that they were more, you know, that the door came down more here, touching the end. I'm not going to put them down because the ground is damp there, but I would say that the floor area in here is bigger than in the SOULO. And again, I can't really remember what that space there looked like, but, you know, I'm just sort of pointing in that direction. The zip, of course, was very similar. It just simply, as in the SOULO, you know, it just, you know, undoes here all the way up to there. There was the same type of vent up there. There's a vent here, up there, which can be undone there. There was the same type of vent here in the SOULO. The only other difference is, of course, that there was another vent. It's over there somewhere behind me in the top, and that was literally it. Whereas, of course, in this you have a big vent at the foot, and of course another big vent at the head end. Whichever way around you know, you're pitching it and you're, you know, and you're in it. In some ways, I'm kind of surprised that the SOULO is as popular as it is, given that it is probably more expensive than this, and that it is a kilogram heavier than this. You know, unless you're going to the top of a mountain and you're going to deliberately be pitching in, you know, really, really rough weather, I have to say that this is probably, to me, and I've not slept in or used the SOULO, so I can't really comment properly, just in some ways seems, you know, the better option, because it's lighter, probably cheaper. You know, if you're a tall person, if you're like 6 foot plus, then the SOULO, you know, clearly makes much more sense, because you're going to have more headroom. It's going to be easier when you're leaning on your elbow watching, or, you know, snacking on something, lying down. So in that instance, the SOULO, it makes a lot more sense. But, you know, for us mere mortals that are sort of 5'8", you know, up to maybe up to just under 6 foot, to me, I'd rather save a kilogram and use this. Now, like I said, I've not used a SOULO. I'm not saying I'd never get one in the future. I'm certainly not rushing out to get one, or even planning on getting one. You know, I'm just going really by memory. And I'm sorry if I'm waffling here a bit, but I think if someone is, you know, is really thinking about one or the other, think about what you're using it for. You know, if you're going to be taking it somewhere where it, you know, deliberately, which is kind of silly as well, but if you're deliberately going to be taking it somewhere that's very, very windy, then the SOULO, you know, clearly makes sense. But if you're going to be, you know, camping sensibly, and obviously some of my friends, many of my friends have got the SOULO, so this is not a slight on them at all. This is just for people who don't really know what they're getting and what they're thinking and that type of thing. Obviously, if you've got the SOULO, clearly it's a fabulous shelter, so I'm not knocking it. I'm just thinking about someone who's just coming in and they're looking at these two shelters and they don't quite know which to get. I would save a kilogram and get this one, unless you're over 6 foot, in which case get the SOULO. Because if you're over 6 foot, you're probably going to be built like a brick chicken house. Probably that extra kilogram won't really matter to you so much. And also the other thing that I actually do prefer in here is the porch space. The porch is actually quite massive in here. The vestibule, I must admit, this vestibule, which people that follow my channel will know is something that I'm very hot on, that is pleasing for me, that I can put my feet out into the vestibule area here, and you know, I've got plenty of room there. And if I had the door open, if I open the door there, you know, I can have my feet out here, and I'm still under cover here. You know, maybe if it rained, you know, my feet might get a little bit damp there, but not so much. And I could always put my feet here in this area here. If I had this, you know, there's a footprint here, but you know, I put a foam mat down myself or something like that. I wouldn't bother with a footprint myself, but you know, it's not mine. I'd put a foam mat down here, you know, and there would still be, you know, enough room for my feet here. I could probably cook in this space here with the door open, and you'd not need to do the door up, you know, unless the weather was really, really poor. You'd have enough room to cook there. You could put some of your equipment back there. Okay, obviously if you've got a dog, you're a little bit more limited. I'd probably be having to put Lassie in that space there and then bringing inside more stuff. Admittedly, Lassie never once really came in here for more than a few minutes, but there is quite a lot of room in here. There is plenty of room. I mean, Lassie could easily have slept, you know, she'd wanted to come in. This whole area here was always free for her. This whole area, I put this mat down for her, So she could have come in and, you know, this area was completely free for her to use. I didn't put anything here. So like I said, you know, it's obviously up to you what you want to go for and what's available and everything else like that. But that's just a few of my thoughts on it. It pitches very easily. It's certainly quicker and easier to pitch than the Souloo. You literally just, you know, put it on the ground, put 4 pegs in the corners just to hold it in place. Then you need another 4 pegs. I might do a pitching video in the future. Put 4 pegs, you know, onto the four lines. They're actually, I've heard, and I probably struggled at the beginning, but I know why people make a mistake. You're pulling the middle toggle too tight. Don't pull the middle one too tight. Just pull the middle one until it's, you know, takes up the slack, and then you pull the 2 outside toggles so that they are tight. So that might help you when you're pitching this, that you get a good, you know, that you get a good pitch on this. You know, it's actually it is a nice tent. I mean, it's 1.5 kilograms, so it's not exactly, you know, it's not exactly lightweight. Yeah, I quite like this. So, you know, if you want to carry the extra weight, let's go back. If you want to carry the extra weight, you know, I reckon this is not a bad. But you do get a lot of tent for your 1.5 kilograms. It is very comfortable and spacious enough. It's for a tent, and I'm not a tent person, as people who know me know. But for a tent, you know, it is a nice tent. So, you know, if you don't want an MLD Trailstar or Duomid or something like that, and you want a tent and you don't mind carrying the weight, and you can't get a Scarp one, which is another good option, but the Porch in that is tiny compared to this. So you've got a mesh, so you can undo this for ventilation here. Double door system here, pocket, 2 pockets here and here. So what we'll do is we'll have a quick look around the outside of the Hilleberg Akto. So Souloo, you have the 3 crossing poles over the top. Of course, on this one you just have 1 central pole going over the middle there. So you have in total 10 pegging out points. You of course peg it out down there and down there, and I tend to do those first, then the central loop, and then obviously tighten these up a little bit this side, a little bit the other side, until you kind of balance it out. And what I was suggesting is that you just tighten these up a little, but not too much, but then mainly tighten up, you know, the 2 edge ones to bring those forward. It's of course a little bit lower, and of course I would say has significantly better ventilation, because you can open that completely there, and then of course when you come around the other side, you again can testing you again can open, I've got it partly closed, but you can again open that side, you know, completely for ventilation. So it's a very well vented tent, and apart from, you know, the usual condensation on the ceiling of the fly, and then a little bit of moisture under my mat, which you always get anyway, which people think they got a leak, but may not be. See my video on that one. You know, you have got a very, very nice shelter, and of course you have this ridge here which gives protection for this vent, you know, under there. I have to say, as tents go, it's a cracking tent. You know, you're not going to go wrong with the Akto. It's a very, very nice tent. And as I say, look at the size of that porch. You know, that's a big porch there. Okay, all right, well, that's enough of that comparison. Thanks for watching, and I will certainly be very happy if you would consider liking, subscribing, sharing, hitting the notification button, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.